it's Nigby. So recently I have started picking lever locks, very much at the infancy of it. I found it a bit of a battle to get into them, arcane tomfoolery, as I've called it. It seems to have, well, there seems to be two ways of getting into it. One is to spend an awful lot of money straight off, and certainly for padlocks, to buy a dedicated padlock pick kit, which is quite a lot of money. There are some cheaper options out there, but they constantly seem to be out of stock. So the other way is to start making your own tools. Now this is every lever lock that I've got to so far. So far I've managed to open all of these, but to do that has taken me several days spread over a couple of weeks in order to manufacture tools. So I'm going to sort of concentrate on these two locks today. The Squire 440, which is touted as a really good beginner's lever lock, which I'm not entirely sure it is, because I think this one's a far better one. And I'm just going to put these out of the way, but they're just there to show you where I've got to in terms of my lever picking. Let's just put them out of the way. So over the course of a few weeks, I've managed to make myself a little box of tools. So I'll just quickly go through some of the tools. That one is my pick that I've made to pick the 440. And down here is the little one that you've already seen that I used to pick the little Squire 330 from Nick's Picks. I'm going to put some of this stuff out of the way. This one I've made to pick the Aldridge Security 5 lever. Should put stuff out of the way as it comes out. And this one was the game changer for me. This is a file down key that I used to pick the 975, but I can also use it to pick quite a few other things. So this is the one that's opened up quite a bit of sort of insight for me. I'll just put that out of the way again. And then these are my my answer to pick wires for a lollipop pick wire. This is a homemade lollipop pick holder. These are the tops to glass table legs. Now what I've done, I'll just open this up quickly to show you, is I've filed 2 grooves into it and got a piece of M8 bolt, and I don't know if you can make that out. Let's try and get some focus on there. I've cut away inside the bolt for that section there, and then all I need to do to make a pick wire is to put 2 bends on, and you can leave it as rough as that. I've been tending to finish my pick wires, polish them round the ends, and put a bit of flat on there, and literally all I need to do now is to just drop that into the groove, and then the other side just screws on once you catch the thread right. And these are part of what I think has helped me to start having success as well. I find these nice, easy to control. I'm finding a picking style where I can hold it in my hand like that and rest my finger on the pick wire and turn with my hand, and I'm getting a lot more feeling through the pick wire. So yeah, I'm finding these really quite good. I've got a couple made, a couple of different gauges of wire. They're both roughly the same upstand at the moment. So yeah, that's my tooling to date, and then there's a load of other bits of wire and stuff in there with experiments. So in terms of tips to get started, the first thing is you're going to need to buy yourself some piano wire. So this is what's left of my piano wire at the moment. So the first tip I would give you is to buy a lot more piano wire than you think you need at the moment, because I've run out, and at the moment, because it's over Christmas, I've run out of the 1.5mm, which seems to be the most useful size at the moment. I think that's 1.8. That makes this thicker gauge pick, and I bought too much of this 1.2, which is no good. So 1.5mm, 1.8 seem to be at the moment to be the most useful sizes. So I would get 4 or 5 lengths of both sizes, because when you're learning how to make the I know it seems simple to make a bent piece of wire, but it's taken me some experimentation. You're going to use up this wire quite quickly, and it's really cheap. If you were told that you could make a really sort of professional high quality pick for 50p, I'm sure with normal tools you'd be overjoyed. So that's my first tip, is to get way more of this wire than you think you need, especially if you're doing the normal sort of the bent type ends, which are absolutely fine. I have opened the locks with these as well, but I just find these an awful lot better. So let's just put that out of the way. So that's my first tip. The second tip would be, at some point you're probably going to have to get one, but I don't like this Squire 440. It seems to have a peculiar way of a technique of just opening it, which involves a really high pressure, and I don't get a lot of feedback from it, but I was really pleased to be able to get it open. I know other people have struggled with this, and some of its bigger brothers as well, but so, well, up to you if you want to start with that, but I would recommend this Walsall Ace, which, although it looks exactly the same, it's the same size and everything, it is really quite different. The Squire 440 has got a pin key, so you need to make a nail type tensioner for that one, whereas this one has got a pipe key with an upstand, and then you can make a much more reliable and easy to make tensioner from this. And this is made from a Near 975 key blank. There's various ways of finishing these things. I've chosen this one because I can have total adjustability on it. I can either center position it, or I could have it slid over to one side if whatever situation that the lock put itself into. So let's concentrate on the 440 for a second. Probably going to have to just change position now and cut to a video just to show you how I sort of learnt to find the levers. So it's going to stop and cut into my first sort of practice into picking this. So I've got the lock set up in a vise now. I've got my tension tool in, but the lock is in its unlocked position and we're looking down the shackle hole. So at this point I just learned the feel of the lever. So I've got my pick wire in, and I'm just feeling underneath, and I'm just lifting the levers. So there's number 4, sliding back, oh, slid too far. There's number 3, you can see that moving, slide back a little bit more. There's number 2, and there's number 1. Funny thing is, it's quite well demonstrated here. I spent the longest time, I don't know if you can see it just at this far right point. That's actually what you can see on the very right is a reflection of lever 1, and I spent the longest time wondering, why am I lifting 2 levers at once? But because these are sort of galvanized and shiny inside, that's what that is. So and then I just had a little practice at getting underneath whichever lever. So back to number 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 2. So that was really useful for me. So if you've got a lock with a key, then that's really good, just to sort of familiarize yourself in the same way as you do with the pin tumbler, just being able to find the pins. So yeah, that was my sort of start. Okay, gonna cut back out of this video, and hopefully we'll go to me picking this 440 now. so I've got myself set up in the vise, just got a little bit of blue tack holding the shutter out of the way. So tension tool goes in and goes anti-clockwise to throw the bolt across the lock that way, and pick wire in. And then the technique for these would seem to be really heavy tension. Crank up the pressure on the vise, really heavy tension. And then just going through and nibbling each wire, each lever. Not trying to set it all at once, just giving each one a gentle nudge. And you can feel them binding, the same as in pin tumblers. And you start to get a progression of movement on the tension tool. Something feels close now. Okay, and there we go. And I'll just take the lock out of the vise in order to just complete that movement. So very carefully just take the, there we go, we can see the lock is open. Finagle the pick wire out. Okay, and the tool as well. Okay, so I had you can see that I'm getting some bend on this tool. I'm going to have a remake of this tool, and Lockpicking Paul uses, rather than silver soldering, it uses a 2mm tapped hole. I don't find this lock pleasant to pick at all. So what is pleasant to pick, and I'm hopefully going to pick for you next, is this one. It's a totally different beast, a lot more similar to the feedback from a pin tumbler, and an altogether more pleasant pick. But these are a bit of a rite of passage. So anyway, I'll cut back to the other video now. So moving on to the little Ace 4 lever now. Big difference between this and the 440 is that this uses a pipe key, and it's got a centre post in there, which enables you to use this tool. Now this is a bit of a game changer for me in terms of my loading these lever locks. This is a cut down Era 975 key blank. Now I did buy an Era 975. And if you want to get into them, I would really recommend one of these. Two reasons. If you wanted to, they come with two keys, so you could use this key to cut down and make your tension tool for this lock and for a lot of other locks as well. This is quite a nice pick. It's fairly easy for a 5 lever, gives good feedback, and it's reasonably cheap. I think I got this for about £24, something like that. And as I say, this tool fits a variety of other locks. It also fits in this Aldridge Space Guard that I've got, so I can pick it with that. And so yeah, and a lot of other centre post locks. So let's see about getting this this ace picked. So I've just got some blue tack on there again, just to keep this shutter out of the way. It's slightly tight fit, only just fits in, but just finagles in. And this is where I like my my little sliding bar, because I can just adjust this to a comfortable position for my hand. So if I want it just a little bit farther over that way rather than central, then that works well. So this requires a lot less tension than the 440, and it really is a lot closer to a pin tumbler in terms of pick and feel. You're getting feedback from each lever rather than just suddenly snapping open like the 440 does. So pick wire goes in. Let's try and keep this in shot and just twist my wrist a little bit. So I'm just going to go feeling for the levers. So 1 springy, 2, 3. A little click out of 4 and a slight turn on the tension wrench. Okay, big turn on the tension wrench. I don't know if you just saw that ball just move there, which means that we should be very close. And yep, there we go. Number 1. And that's turned, and lovely click as that opens, and that just turns over. So there you go. So I would heartily recommend that as a first lever padlock. You can do the same thing in terms of learning the levers. You can practice picking it closed if you want to. Hold it to pick it closed. You just do the opposite thing, tool in, tension the opposite way, but you still pick the levers the same as if you were trying to pick it open. So yeah, lever locks. It's been a real journey the last couple of weeks for me. I've had to call on loads of advice from loads of friends in the lock sport community. Watched lots and lots of videos, and made some tools that are entirely too pretty, but I like nice things. So the fact that these are all homemade and still sort of quite aesthetically and nice to handle, aesthetically pleasing and nice to handle, it is a bit of a bonus to me. Of course, the wooden handles that I use on my dimple picks came in, so I was able to make some nice wooden handles for some of them. You don't need to go this far. You could just leave the nails bare. You could there's people use various washer and other fixings and bolts arrangements on these. It's totally down to you how far you want to go, and I'm really starting to appreciate a well-made lever now. So I'll give you a close-up on that in terms of just cutting a bit of a flat on there, rounding the edges of the lever as it rolls. It slides nicely, and you can just thin these down as much or as little as you want, and polishing them helps enormously as well. Just in some of the what's getting under some of the levers is quite tricky, so just the ability to just slide the wire is really helpful, as opposed to find something that isn't finished so well. I cut this one very hastily in the dark just the other day to have a go at that mortise lock, so you can see the difference in finish between one of my nice wires and one that's totally unfinished. So that's my lever lock journey to date. As I say, I'm hopefully getting something that's going to be more of a challenge. Not that these weren't challenge enough for Christmas, and I'm going to continue with this. They're a really interesting archaic lock, but in terms of something that as a lock, they're so simple to make. There's no complicated machining needed, because most of the parts are either stamped out or just cut out, so there's no broaching or lathing or anything needed for them, and there's so much room inside these things that they don't freeze up, so it's why they're really good for all sorts of weather. but yeah, it's an interesting diversion. I wonder if I can still pick a pin tumbler at the moment, because some of the force that's required for some of these things is not going to translate well back to pin tumblers. But yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. Well, making the tools. So I would only recommend it going down this avenue if you are interested in making tools. Other than that, your other options are a fair bit of money invested. Anyway, I hope that was of interest, and just keeping people up to date with what I'm doing. Thanks a lot.